What's going on, fellow YouTubers? I know it's been a while since the last time I've recorded a video, but I figure I'll make a update video after like the last 2-3 years since I messed with this thing. I recently finished it not too long ago. I just felt the urge to just get back to it. As you see, this is not the original swing arm. That is the original swing arm. I lowered the front down about 2 inches, and I'm loving the way that this thing is sitting now. Quick update. I already told you guys about the whole lights and the motor mount and everything. As far as the upgrades I've done, it's kind of a downgrade, but I wanted to go to a smaller chain size. This is a 25H chain instead of the T8 chain that used to be on here. Reason being is because the T8, it's a bigger sprocket, so it takes up more space. The 25H, the sprocket isn't so big, and the size sprocket that I wanted to go for the rear was an 80 tooth, and the 80 tooth for the T8 sprocket was just way, like, almost as big as the rim was. And I'm like, this looks ridiculous. It looks like a freestyle bike. Like, it was just too much. So I went with a smaller chain, 25H. It's strong, it's durable, it'll hold up, it'll do whatever I need it to do. Granted, this is only an 800 watt 36 volt motor, which you guys are probably already aware of. If you already seen my older videos, you can go back on my channel and look at how I converted all of this to the way it is now, because this used to be originally a 2-stroke. That's on the other videos. But as far as my updates, swing arm. Swing arm. This is a swing arm from a 125cc pit bike. The measurements that I had got from the swing arm was exactly what I needed to fit in between the frame for it to fit. Now, as you see, I do have my own spacers to fill in the space between the frame and the swing arm on both sides. That's just a washer. I kind of shifted it towards the right side because the chain has to meet with the rear sprocket. Also, the spacers in the rear are spaced out a certain amount as well. That's just all simple stuff. Nothing like modified wise, like as far as welding. There's no welding in this. I try to do simple things as far as like cutting and bolting, simple things. Nothing required welding. This bolted up. This is kind of, the shock is kind of, it's a little shifted a little bit. As you see, sorry, my light went out. My phone's dying, but I'm going to continue. As you see, it's a little shifted to the right, but for the most part, it's straight. I haven't had any issues with it sitting like that. It rides fine to me. I think I want to go with a chain tensioner or something, because riding like this, I do feel like it is a lot of tension on here, but who knows. I do need to get some blocks for the swing arm so that I can properly adjust these bolts for the axle nut, or the actual axle bolt and the nut. For now, these are just some Home Depot bolts that I had got to fit into the swing arm. I just took the original bolts that went into the swing arm, took them to Home Depot and matched the thread bolts up and got longer bolts, because the old bolts were shorter because the blocks took up a lot more space. So I just got longer bolts just temporarily for now until I got some blocks to go into the swing arms. I used the same chain guide from the old swing arm. That one over there. On this one already had a hole drilled out for a slider for this already. I don't even think it was supposed to be a slider on this side, but there were holes drilled out. I'm not sure. I think these were for the brake caliper hose, because on the dirt bike, on a pit bike, this side would be the brake line and the brake caliper, and this side would actually be the sprocket and chain, because this is the original chain slider for the pit bike. because the pit bike's chain would normally be on the left side, but this was a 2-stroke pocket bike, so this one, the chain is oriented on the right side. So it works either way. Like I said, I don't have any issues with this setup. My brakes work. Everything works. Brakes work. Chain's fine. I haven't had any popping issues or anything like that. That's the swing arm or ideal. As far as the front forks, everything is the same. The brake levers are all the same. I didn't really change anything up. The only thing I did was lower the front end. I loosened the triple tree up. The top triple tree and the lower triple tree, and slowly used a rubber mallet and just kept hitting it down until I got it to the height that I wanted it to be. And if I went too low, I would just hit down the bottom of the fork to hit it back up high enough to get them both leveled, and use a tape measure to make sure they both leveled out at the same height, around the same amount of inches, both sides. Like I said, 2 inches, both sides. I did have to cut off. I had to grind off. There was like a stop notch piece right here. I had to cut it off and then grind it down smooth so that the triple tree would slide down further, because right here where you see where my nail is, you can actually see where I grinded it down. I had to cut the stopper off so that I was able to drop it down. It would only allow me to drop it down about 1/2 inch before it stopped, and I couldn't lower it anymore. So, and that was on both sides. You can see on that side too. It's a little harder to see. My flashlight went out because my phone's about to die, but I'm trying to get the video, and I still got a little bit of life left. So this side too, you can kind of see it's a little rough, but both sides I had to do the same thing. And don't worry, the bolts tighten up enough for the triple tree to hold the weight of the forks, plus me. I'm 165, 170 pounds. There's no issues with the triple tree, even after I cut the stops off of the forks. And that's pretty much it that I can think of that I've done upgrade wise, was extend out the rear wheel. Everything else is pretty much the same. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So the chain, the sprockets, the swing arm, and lowering down the front forks was pretty much the main upgrades that I've done. I tested out the whole bike, the upgrades and everything. I could get about maybe 10, I'd say about 10 to 12 miles. At the most, I've rode about maybe an hour and a half on it. And that's not even me riding consistently. That's just like me taking breaks in between and riding uphill, downhill. Around my neighborhood, it's kind of a mix of between some flat surfaces, some uphills, some downhills. For about an hour and a half, I could get out of this. And I believe those are 18 amp hour batteries. They're SLA batteries. They're not lithium batteries. I have to switch to lithium batteries. My next setup, I know I said 72 volt, but at the moment, this is probably going to have to be a budget build. And I'm probably going to go with a 48 volt system for this. Probably a Viva MY 1020, something simple that I know I can do over 20, 30 miles an hour with. And I know 48 volt will, because my other bike does it. And that's another project that I finished that I will have to do a video on if you guys are interested. But yeah, that's my Razor dirt bike MX500 that I built a 48 volt system with. And since I know how that bike rolls, I might end up doing the same thing to this too. And I might upgrade my speedometer with an actual digital gauge going on here. That way I can look a little bit more flashy with this thing, because that analog speedometer is definitely out of date. So, but I'll have to give you guys a ride video of this thing, because I know I said I was supposed to and I never did. But we'll get to that another day, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on it as far as what I have so far. And I've tested it. It rides fine. I love this bike. And I honestly don't want to get rid of it. I thought about it, and a nice 48 volt, and this thing could do 30 miles an hour with the right sprocket kit. This little bike would be fun. It definitely will be fun. I mean, it's fun with just the 60 with this 36 volt kit on it. So I can only imagine with a 48 volt kit with a lithium battery, some decent power, more amp hours, so I can ride a little bit further, a lot more longer. Yeah, I got so many people hitting me up about this, and so many people that'll see me riding this thing out on the street, and they're like, man, that thing's cool. And I'm like, man, it just makes me think differently about it. At first, I didn't really, you know, at one point I did wanted to get rid of it, sell it. But after I put all this time into it and put that swing arm on there, and now this thing just looks sweet, man. I love the way this bike looks now. It's definitely fun to ride. And once I get that 48 volt kit, I will definitely keep you guys updated. But before I get the 48 volt kit, I definitely will make a video of the 36 volt kit that's on here now. Give you guys an update, show you guys how it rides, how fast it goes. And I already told you guys how long it lasts. About 12 miles, hour and a half, depending on how I ride, how aggressive I ride, if I'm riding easy, slow, fast. It all depends on how you ride. But for the most part, for me, 12 miles, about an hour and a half. It's decent for SLA batteries. So we'll get back to it once I'm ready to make an actual ride video. So hopefully next time I'm showing a video of this thing, I'm on it.